Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn Series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom and pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through done-for-you podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build a great relationship with clients, referrals, or thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. For the past 20 years, Paul Reiser was president of Reiser Group Sonic Management Company, which owned and operated 38 Sonic drive-in restaurants across 4 states. In 2021, he and his partners sold the entire business, ending his family's 45-year run with the iconic restaurant brand. Hey, Paul, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Absolutely. Terrific. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hey, so you had 38 Sonic drive-in locations across 4 states. What were the 4 states, and how many locations were in each?
Right. Yeah. So our home base was basically North Louisiana. Had 28 in North Louisiana, and then spread out just one into Texas. And we built into South Alabama. So I had 8 of them in the Dothan area, Southeast Alabama, and then 1 in Florida.
What attracted you to Sonic?
I grew up literally inside of a Sonic. The way we got into the Sonic business was that great American success story of my dad got into Sonic. So the way we all got into Sonic, it was actually a family business, was dad was very, very poor as a kid, number 7 of 8 kids, and always wanted to escape that poverty. And his plan was, I'm going to start my own business. You know, he was that kid that was selling candy out of his locker between classes, and always, he always had a part-time job washing dishes since he was 12 years old. And he actually got into the bread business, selling bread, buns and so forth. And a lot of bread men in those days, back in the 70s, realized, you take some bread into a Sonic, and these Sonics were selling a lot of hamburgers. So you get a guy who's used to getting up early, being on his feet all day, working hard, and he sees, here's an opportunity. So a lot of bread men got into Sonic. And so actually he got into Sonic. It was a long road. He got into Sonic, moved our whole family to Louisiana, and I was the youngest of 5. We were that family, when you go to a restaurant, and you see like these little kids working and doing all kinds of illegal things. OSHA was not that big back then, I guess. But yeah, so I grew up in the Sonic, worked Sonic my whole life. I was car hopping when I was 12, made super good tips because I was a cute kid, and they felt sorry for me, I guess. Totally illegal. Chad, totally. Don't do it. But yeah, so I got into it. I don't even remember the question except how did we get into Sonic? So That's the early days of the family. I grew up, always wanted to get out of Sonic. Actually, when I finally graduated after a lot of attempts in video production, working for a short while, realized, I made a lot more money when I was selling hamburgers. So got back into the hamburger business in 1992.
Okay. So I was going to ask you what you had been doing prior to getting involved with Sonic, but you've always been involved with Sonic.
Always, except for a short period when I was actually managing a Sonic for my dad right when I got married, and we, as fathers and sons often do, butted heads on some key, key organizational issues. So I ended up leaving, and I said I want to go back to school. Went back to school, graduated in video production. Did that for about 8 months, realized I was absolutely broke, and the desire to make, just like my dad, I was tired of being broke. So I went back to dad and I said, hey, Pop, remember you said I'd always be welcome back, which that's a great lesson. Don't burn bridges. My dad didn't burn the bridge with me. Thankfully, I didn't burn the bridge with him. So I said, I'm ready to come back, welcome the prodigal son. And to his credit, he said, fantastic. I know just where to stick you. And he put me in the worst Sonic he had. It was 20 years old, hadn't paid a dividend in a year, and that was kind of my training ground.
What would you say was kind of your maybe some things you learned, starting to work at a Sonic, like you said, at a pretty young age?
Well, just I want to make sure that we're bringing value to your team here. I mean, your listeners, because I learned from my dad. It wasn't the type of deal where your dad's this rich restaurant owner and he was struggling, working hard. And when he put me in the Sonic, he put me in his worst Sonic to work hard. And he came to visit me one day during lunch run, and we time our ticket averages. My ticket average was that day 2 minutes and 50 seconds on a pretty bit. Every order went out the average 250, pretty good. I was proud. Dad looked at it and he said, Slick, that's pretty good, but you can't touch every burger. I'm like, okay. So main lesson number one, and of course I bucked against it because it was my dad. But you have to You have to learn to delegate. If you're going to expand, if you're going to grow, you can't get bogged down touching every hamburger. You have to train people to touch the hamburgers for you. And I've found that to be the biggest problem with all my managers that I've groomed over the years and other businesses I see. That owner feels like they're the only one that can do everything. And that's the limiting factor. So what I learned early on is you've got to train your replacement if you want to move on to bigger things.
So you went to school for video production. You came back. Your dad put you at the worst location. What made that the worst location?
I think it was the furthest away from him. It was kind of in a town isolated by itself, and it was something he didn't get to. It was he probably had 8 Sonics at the time, and it was 2 hours from his house. He spent a lot more time in the Sonics that were close to his house, and this was just kind of an old, beat down store that never had done very well. And in my opinion, not every time I've found now as I've gained, but generally what I say is every bad Sonic is one manager away from being a great Sonic. And it's just the dedication of that manager. And he just had a run of managers that weren't well trained, that weren't well qualified, and they just let it. And all of a sudden you go there and it's like, this is where I go while I'm waiting to get a better Sonic. So nobody really turned it.
What do you think makes a good manager for a place like that?
The most important thing, again, you have to get in there and train. You have to have the vision that this is going to be a great experience for every guest, but it's also going to be a great experience for all my employees. And the only way an employee is going to have a great experience is if they're trained and they're confident in what they're doing and they're supported. So from day one, I was working a lot of hours. But what I would do is, I was working my position during rushes. And then when it wasn't a rush, I was just pulling people along and training.
So you had been the manager there, and you said your family had 8 locations for
right.
Sonic. You ended up with 38 locations. Can you kind of take me through that growth process, not only for your family's business, but also for you?
Right. So the biggest benefit I had from growing up in the business was seeing how long it takes. So my dad was super poor, and he married my mom, who was also super poor, and together they were a very poor couple. But his determination was to grow the business. And so he got to 8. He didn't get into his first Sonic until he was 38 years old, which at the time we thought was really old. But now I think, what a young opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I'm the youngest of 5. So I had a brother that had a Sonic, 2 brother-in-laws that were in the Sonic, and I was in the Sonic. And we thought, how do we grow faster? Because I built my own Sonic. After I ran that Sonic for a while, I built my own Sonic, partnered 50% with my dad. So it was a great opportunity there that a lot of people don't get, to have an old guy with some money that you can go in 50-50 with early on. But I had half of that Sonic. My other brother-in-laws had half a Sonic, and we said, we're moving so slow. If we form a management company and we really run this like a professional organization, how fast could we grow? So that's when we were able to say, okay, now let's build some more Sonics. And we kind of delegated that out. I had one brother-in-law that was a great partner that he was an MBA. He was super smart with computers and numbers, and he was our CFO. And I turned into the president, and we had a director of operations. We were all in the family. But we could delegate out those issues. And so the ability to that's what you need as a team. So we said, let's go to this area. Sonic was excited about us growing. We were able to get, larger and larger development agreements. And when we went to Alabama, that was really kind of the testing ground when we went out 2 states away, signed a development agreement to build. Sonic said, you need to build 10 in 2 years. And I said, we'll build 2 in 10 years. And we settled on 5 in 5 years. And that was kind of when we really started to grow.
As the so you eventually became kind of, your title was president. What did you kind of do? You said you were the manager, and the key to your success was training, at that specific location. As kind of the leader or the president of the company, what did you do to kind of set the tone still, in terms of your leadership and for all of those locations?
Well, we spent a lot of time, especially growing locations, and a lot of the folks that we had early on were people that my dad had trained, that had been with him for years and years. So we had this, the company culture was assigned in every single Sonic that said, the answer is yes, what's the question? So when a guest has a question, if they say you have nachos, if we don't have nachos, you can't lie about it, but you help them solve their problem, whatever it is. So we had that sign. So what I had to do as the president is absolutely live that vision. And no matter what the situation was, if there was a guest with an issue, I would demonstrate, this is how we handle a guest. This is how we do it every single time, no matter how hard they were to deal with, belligerent. I would have guests, and I could always cheer them up. A guy came in and slammed his order on the table one time, and everybody's like, "Oh, heck no!" And I'm just like, "What's wrong, sir?" He said, "I said no pickles. There's pickles all over." And he was so irate, and I'm so sorry. I understand. Let me get you another burger. Got him another burger, gave him a gift card for a free meal, and he left. And the people were astonished. Like, how did you not get upset? But I had to, because if I had told that guy what for, then every person in that room would have said, "Oh, I know how to handle the problem with the guests." So
Sure.
Anyway, so I think that's what it was. As the president, I have to go around. I had my hand in hiring every manager early on. But also, the answer is yes. What's the question? That's got to be our philosophy.
Were you ever, as you kind of were growing and you had kind of now a management company, were you ever tempted to branch out, or what was it about Sonic that just made you wanted to keep on adding to your collection of Sonics?
Well, because we were a very flat organization with a central hub. So each Sonic, because I ran my own Sonic for a few years, I didn't want a big corporate structure. I liked running my own Sonic. So the way we would set them up is we would put a manager in that Sonic. We would usually raise them up from the organization. At one point we had 27 managers, and all 27 of them had started out as a cook or a car hop. So they knew our culture, and this is your Sonic. It needs to reflect you, but you need to be so active in your neighborhood, so active in your community. And we just owned the churches and the schools and the Chamber of Commerce in all our little towns. So our average town was probably 3,000 people. And yet our average unit volume was over 1.5 million for years and years. And actually just right at 2 million when we sold.
What were some of the keys to your success then as the owner of 38 locations? That's quite a bit.
Well, the biggest key to success is training other people, is bringing people along, showing people that there is room to grow. And the only way you can do that is to get out of the way. And so we created a really good bonus program early on, paid a very small salary. Our managers made $32,000 as a salary, but they could bonus up to 25% of the profit every month. So this is your Sonic. And we had 5 criteria, and half of them pushed sales and half of them pushed profit. And you could make up to 25% of the bottom line, 5% per goal, or 0 of the bottom line. And if you're not making a bonus, I can't afford to keep you anyway. So it really, really drove people to focus on what we thought was important to grow their business and to grow their profits.
How did COVID affect operations at your Sonic locations? Maybe it's different because you guys are more of a drive-in operation, but tell me how it affected you guys.
Man, COVID was the scariest thing that has ever happened and changed the world, and it was crazy. You didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, now we're so used to it, but just try to take yourself back a couple of years. What is going to happen? They started closing the world around us, and when they start closing things, they closed California first. I called a friend of mine that had some Sonics in California, and I'm like, man, how are you okay? What's going on? What do you do when you owe, you know, these Sonics cost $1.5 million each to build. So you owe millions of dollars, and all of a sudden you're in danger of actually being closed. So what do you do? But I called my buddy in California. He said, no, man, I'm essential. We have to stay open. So that was encouraging. But the fear was, our employees, because we have a lot of young folks and their moms and dads don't want them coming working, because not only are you in a small building with a lot of people, that was terrifying. You're also going out dealing with the public constantly. So the biggest challenge was keeping everybody calm. The first month we lost 5% in sales, and we're like, well, we can live with that, because we had initially gone out and taken out a big loan, had a communication. The biggest thing I think also in leadership is communicating with your folks. We had 1,300 employees, and you have to really communicate with your top people and your second line of people, and then really encourage them to communicate all the way down. But we're like, look, we're not going to close. If we do close, we've taken out a $500,000 loan. We're going to pay all our managers. We're going to make sure you get your salaries. Your assistants are going to, we really had to give everybody confidence to stick in there. And so we're in this together. We had a very specific plan. When we get a COVID out in one of our stores, we're going to go in there. I'm going to show up. Your supervisor's going to show up with bleach and buckets, and we're going to clean it. And unfortunately, that happened to us really just very early in. So out of 3,500 Sonics, we were the 16th. One of my Sonics was the 16th Sonic in the system to have a COVID case. It's terrifying. So how do you even handle it? The good news is we were built for COVID when everyone else is trying to figure out curbside delivery. That's all we have done since 1953 when Sonic started, is curbside delivery. So we were uniquely poised to work through the situation. We got incredibly busy actually with less and less people. So to this day, it is still the stress of the crews. The people that do show up are getting worked to death. So the biggest challenge is just trying to take care of your folks again through it, and try to keep putting hope out there. We're gonna get through this.
So what made you and your family decide to end your kind of tenure as Sonic Kings?
Tenure as Sonic Kings? Man, I've never been called that before. I've been called a lot of things. I like it. Again, when you have a business, you're in it. I'm in it. Our thought is you got to get in it for the long haul. We're going to win this thing. It's our company. But at the same time, you have to be smart, and you always have to be looking at your exit strategy. Sonic Corporate, matter of fact, the president and director of operations for Sonic Corporate came to see us one time years ago when we were really building all these Sonics. You're very popular when you build a lot of restaurants for your franchisee. And they said, what's your big bust plan? I'm like, what do you mean? They said, if one of y'all gets hit by a big bust, what's going to happen to the company? So we're like, we hadn't thought about that very well yet. So let's really dig in. And basically we just came up with, one day we're going to sell it. So we have to have a very flat organization. It has to be able to exist without us. And so we've been in that mode. We constantly, you constantly have to be evaluating your company. Years ago, it was worth 3 times earnings. At one point, it was worth as high as 5.5 times earnings. Your real estate is always worth something. We look at it. Sonic is a very unique building, so you can only calculate it based on the condition of the building and basically the rent that you bring in, a factor of your rent. And we're watching it, and we figure, one day we're going to have to sell it, or get to sell it, or our kids will get to sell it. But what happened was, because of the world, with the stock market through the roof, there's all of a sudden you have all these people that want to buy Sonics that never wanted to buy Sonics before. In the past, it was only Sonic operators that wanted to buy Sonics. Like, oh, old Jimmy's retiring, let's buy a Sonic. That's how we grow. That's part of how we grew. But now you have these venture capital firms coming in. They want a business they can buy with. They can look back and see consistent long-term cash flow over time. And we were a strong franchise in a core market. So we were just poised. Our valuations just went through the roof. So we're like, you know what? I'm the youngest of 5, and you can see, Chad, your folks. Oh, if you want to see the man behind the golden baritone voice, Chad, You need to come to their. How do you find this thing on YouTube? By the way, he's actually on YouTube. You can watch this.
Yeah, you just go to SpotOn Series podcast.
SpotOn Series podcast on the YouTube, and you can see this guy. But you can see me and realize that if I'm the youngest guy in our company, we got an old company, and we felt like it was a good opportunity to exit. The valuations were really high at that time. Concerned about the political change at the time. It was before the president race, so we're like, Biden might win this thing. If he wins, look at his tax plan. He wants to double capital gains taxes. So there was just a lot of reasons to sell at that time. So our family is very democratic. We go to the table. We think, here's the valuations. Does everybody want to do it? And there's 5 of us voting members. So luckily there's never a tie. So we voted to move forward and used a broker, and we're able to get a good price.
Okay, great. So what are you kind of planning to do moving forward?
Well, I got to tell you, Chad, I am taking a gap year. I've been drinking a lot of coffee on the patio, to tell you the truth. First time I've been unemployed since I was like 11. So it's been pretty nice. I'm doing a little bit of real estate, but what I'm going to lean into is this YouTube channel. We didn't even talk about that. So I had a YouTube channel when I was in the Sonics, and I would go to the Sonic, and Sonic wasn't super comfortable with it, but as long as I stayed outside, we would try the food, and it was fun. It's called The Sonic Guy. But I'm going to change that to Business is Real, because what I really want to lean into is giving some of this experience back to folks. But I also love finding out about all kinds of businesses. So I'm gonna be visiting other businesses, finding out their secret sauce, getting their behind the scenes information, and sharing that with people through my YouTube channel. And I will probably get back into speaking and that sort of fun stuff.
Do you have the YouTube channel set up? Can you tell people where to find it now, or is it still to come?
No, it's awesome. So right now you can go to The Sonic Guy, just YouTube The Sonic Guy. It'll be changing to Business Real, REAL, very soon. But if you're subscribed to The Sonic Guy, it'll just carry right through. It's a lot of fun. I think it's got some good information. I would love for people to go check it out and give me your ideas on what you want me to do next.
Okay, sounds good. Final question for you. What advice do you have for people who are thinking of becoming franchisees?
I will tell you that I love franchises as a business, because it's an already proven system, and it is a system, something you can copy. I would say, if you're interested in it, one, go work in go work in it. Tell them, say, hey, I'm trying to pay off some debt. Can I work in your pizza place, or can I work in your Sonic? And anybody would be glad to have you. So go do physical hands-on. I was able to work as a kid my whole life in the Sonic, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. But if you don't want to go work in it, I would say work in it. Like, work a few nights, because if you don't like working all day and all night, you're not going to like working in a restaurant.
Sure.
Because that's how it is. Again, to go back to the long journey. My dad was 38 when he got in it, and it's years and years, and the journey is great. There was some wins along the way, but and sometimes I listen to a 30-minute podcast and hear a 30-year journey, and it feels really fast, but it's long. So I would recommend getting into one and working it and seeing if you like it. It is pretty energizing. Then if you reach out to the franchise, and you got to they used to be called a uniform franchise offering circular, and it's basically just a 6-inch thick binder with all the information about the business, including all of the franchisees. And I think they changed the name because everybody just called it a UFOC, which was just too fun to say, I guess. So they changed it to FDD. But you get that book, and you get to go and meet the franchise. They'll give you this book, and in the back, it's got the numbers of every franchise in it, every franchisee. Call them and say, how do you like working with this franchise? Are you making money? How are they to work with? Do they support you? Would you recommend this franchise? So franchising system is fantastic. Not all franchises are great. So do your homework, but it's great. It's a great way to get into business.
Okay, great.
And also, they're much more marketable on the backside, because people are they're more willing to buy something that they're familiar with, that has a longer track record, than if you just start your own. Paul's Dandy Burgers probably wouldn't have sold for quite what 38 Sonics went for.
Sure, of course. Hey, Paul, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for all your insights and for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Good time, man. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for reaching out. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Okay, thank you. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.